Welcome back to the Story of Liberty. This is your host, John Bona. Let's talk whether socialism is taught in the Bible or not. We could read about it in the book of Acts chapter 4 and 5. Now, some of it actually sounds like that, but Christians have been persuaded around the world that socialism is taught in the Bible. But let's remember that a text without a context is a pretext. And these joined passages taken out of context, they've been used to sell as a pretext a mess of garbage of socialistic thinking to millions of Americans in America. But let's also remember that without examining the context in which something, in this case Scripture, was said, one can easily or even intentionally misappropriate or misapply or misrepresent a text to support a position that it in fact does not support. When they had brought the piece of land and they sold it, they brought part of the money and they laid it at the feet of the apostles. But keep in mind, one of the primary tenets of socialism and communism is that either the state owns the property and the means of production, or it at least controls that through taxes, regulation, and control. Do you know how they actually define private property, the socialistic thinkers? They define property as theft. Think of that. That it belongs to everyone. Nobody should have private property, but just the state. But what does Scripture say? Well, we see in Acts chapter 5:4, it says, while it remained, wasn't it in thy own power? Oh, there it is, private property, the very antithesis of socialism. Thou shalt not steal. Remember, it's your neighbor's property. And after it was sold, Peter said, wasn't it in your own power? So we even see that the results of the sale of the property were not controlled by the state, but it was in his own power. This is another major fundamental premise of socialism undermined. Furthermore, as we read, including the other disciples, they sold their property and brought the money and laid it at the feet of Peter. They didn't bring the money to the government or the state. Well, that would be a huge abomination to the socialistic thinkers of the world, that people would give their property to the church. But this is exactly what the other disciples did. This is another pillar of socialism being totally undermined. And the coup de grace is that, remember that the whole idea of socialistic undertaking is involuntary, enforced with the sword of the state. But here, what the early Christians did was voluntary. Out of the love of their heart, they had for each other, they wanted to share and help each other where they could. So folks, socialism is not taught in the Bible. In fact, the very antithesis of socialism is taught. Private property is taught. Socialism has had disastrous effects everywhere it existed. Do you know that Nazi? Do you know what it stands for? The National Socialistic Party. I trust you know what the USSR meant. It's the Union of the Soviet Socialist Republics. There you have it, folks. Those are two governments that tried it. Now in America, we don't have a revolution, but we are slowly, step by step, incrementally abandoning the free market and moving toward socialism. Folks, we need to turn back to the free market system, this God-given, wonderful system God has given us, and put away and bury these socialistic ideas forever.